Hello, I am Nikola Jane from Learning Project team. Today I have the pleasure to introduce a topic from our Green Video Lecture course. Our guest in this video is Professor Kirill Velichkov. He will share an insight on the financial aspects of the green policies, which is an insight not only academic but also based on his extensive practical experience. The EU clearly states in its strategic documents the importance of green transition. This is also evident from the current EU budget, which for 2021-2027 reaches over 2 billion euros, of which nearly 30% is directed towards measures to support the green transition. Key to the implementation of EU policies, including for green transition, are financial support mechanisms, be they grants or financial instruments, credit guarantees, debt instruments, equity instruments, and grant programs. The specifics of the green transition are already operating on the market. The example of the flagship program Sustainability Guarantees is considered as an interesting and significant example in this direction. Now, Kirill, would you briefly introduce yourself for our listeners?
Hello, my name is Kirill Velichkov. I have almost 30 years of experience with different EU programs, financial instruments in Bulgaria and abroad. I am a professor at Faculty of Economic and Business Administration of Sofia University, where I teach learning organization, digital business innovations, and also I work for the largest financial institution group in Bulgaria. It's KBC Group Bulgaria, and namely United Bulgarian Bank, where I'm responsible for the European programs and financial instruments. Next to this, I'm also responsible for this domain for the whole Belgian KBC Group, and we support the other countries in the effective usage of these programs.
Now, let us get straight into the subject of your lecture today. Why European programs and financial instruments? Why do we need them?
Maybe I will make a reference first to this what you quoted at the beginning. EU has its strategic priorities. For example, is the greening of economy. We want to become much less polluting and which much more energy effective till 2050 as European Union. And to support this, there is enormous budget. But it's good to have strategies and they are very important, but the question is how to make strategies work. And let's just imagine that you have a factory that is polluting a lot. It's strange chemical production. So all the neighboring villages are suffering from this. You help them to have job, but still the air is with awful quality. And you're the owner of this company. You know that EU has this strategy to reduce the pollution, but still you need to make an investment of, let's say, 10 million euro to optimize your factory, to change the production process. And the question is it enough that EU has this strategy to make you move? So there are two scenarios how EU supports or make the strategy into action. On one hand, this is the stick. You need to do this. Okay, but still, I don't have 10 million euro, I'm sorry. Okay, but then if you don't do it, then I will start punishing you. There will be penalties. I may close your factory or I may forbid you to export and so on. Okay, but still, I don't have the 10 million euro. I want to change, but it's difficult. Then comes the carrot in the whole story, and these are the European programs and financial instruments. And we are talking for the amount that you quoted at the beginning, almost 2 billion euro for the period 21-27, helping you to become more energy effective, with less pollution, and doing innovation, digitalization, and so on. There are several scenarios how the European Union could support the green transition, innovation, and digitalization of the economy. On one hand, for your factory, Nikolai, you could get a EU grant, and this is great. So this cleaning installation for your factory will cost 10 million euro, and you get, let's say, 8 million euro present from the European Union to improve your factory.
Non-refundable.
Absolutely non-refundable. It's a real one-way present. You don't bring it back, and it looks nice. So this what started, let's say, to develop on the market in 2004 in Bulgaria, when I was working as an advisor to a large financial group, how to develop this business. And the story is simple. It's a present from the European Union, but there are several preconditions the company needs to meet. On one hand, you need to prepare a good quality project. You need to invest the 10 million euro in the cleaning installation, and only after this to get the EU grant, let's say this 8 million euro. So you will need 10 million euro in advance. You will need also 2 million euro co-financing of this project. And in practice, this brings into the picture the financial institutions, the commercial banks. It came out that they're a crucial player in order the grants to operate in Bulgaria. So this is scenario one. Grants, great opportunity, and it looks very well. On the other hand, this what we observe in the last year are some policy changes in the European Union. On one hand, we see the top priority for innovation, digitalization, sustainability in European Union. But on the other hand, we also see that several significant changes happened. UK went outside of EU, and this led also to withdrawing of the UK contribution to the EU budget. So the EU budget became smaller. Then next to this, new priorities came on the table. So this is how to effectively manage the migration pressure on the European economy, how to support all these people that are coming to Europe and to make the system effective. We see the global challenges happening more and more in Europe, and these are wars and stuff like this. So the question for common defense policy is also high on the radar of the European institutions. All these policies, in order to be operationalized, need budget. So they take part of the budget that normally would go to grants for innovation, sustainability. And here comes the question, but how to achieve all our strategies with the 2 billion euro, but still this is not endless budget. And here comes as an answer something that started to be piloted in Bulgaria 15 years ago, let's say something like 15 years ago. These are the so-called financial instruments. How they operate, with the simple example of our project for the 10 million euro cleaning installation for your nice factory. But maybe before telling you how they operate, I would ask you a question. What would you be interested in if you go to a commercial bank for your investment of 10 million euro for the cleaning installation? Unfortunately, you were not able to get the grant, but you want to do it with a loan.
Well, I have some limited experience using EU grants, and I know how they are structured and how they are reported for, how you get access to the money. It's difficult, but still at the end, when you draw the final line, you can be on the safe side of the spending. On the other hand, I'm much more reluctant when I go to the bank, because I know that there are some hidden conditions that could push me straight into a bankruptcy, because when the bank is giving some money to the user, to the company, it usually expects huge turn back from the money that is invested, loaned, given to the person. So there is interest, it might increase. So my natural question would be, what are the conditions of this money coming out from the bank, that the money that I receive from the bank? Under which conditions do I get them? And what is the role of the European Union in this process? Because we all know that banks are giving loan on a regular basis. You don't need to have an EU guarantee behind to get the money from the bank.
Yeah, indeed, similar questions pop up in the head of many people, many companies who want to do their investment. Yeah, questions like what will be the interest rate for this financing? What collaterals shall I get? What collaterals shall I be asked to provide in order to get the financing? Shall I get the funding if I'm a startup or if I'm a really innovative company doing a bit riskier business, or if I want to do really a green investment, and this might be considered also a bit new type of investment, so also with a bit higher risk. And here comes the answer, and it's the so-called financial instruments. There are several types of financial instruments, but let's focus on the credit guarantees. I will not cover all the options. So how they operate, commercial banks go through a public tender procedure with European Investment Fund, European Investment Bank, EBRD, IFC, different supranational and national financial institutions. National are fund manager of financial instruments in Bulgaria, Bulgarian Development Bank, National Guarantee Fund, and others. So they sign an agreement. To keep it simple, with this agreement, they say, it's just theoretical example, for the loan of 10 million euro of Nikolai, we provide 80% risk coverage. Meaning that if something goes wrong and you are not able to repay this financing, the program will cover to the bank this 80%. They will pay to the bank, and the bank still needs to continue with the recovery process with you. But this means something very simple. By covering this 80% of the risk, or 50% depending on the program, the bank may offer you more attractive conditions, simply because you may be asked for lower collaterals to the loan or lower price of the loan. More risky investments like innovation, digitalization, or sustainability will be supported. So these programs leads to very attractive funding to the market.
Well, thank you for this introduction into the financial instruments, but still, if I am the case that you described, opting for some money to support the green policies in my factory, what should I choose? Which is better, European programs or financial instruments? And how do they differ in essence? The pros and cons.
The pros of the European grants, I would say, are quite clear. You get the present investment that you don't need to return back. But still, when you want to use the grants, you need to know that they are linked to quite many formal requirements. On one hand, you need to wait when an appropriate grant tender procedure will be launched. So this may lead to postponement, delay of the investment. You want to do your investment now, but if you wait for the grant, it might be next year or in a year and a half. Then when you apply for the grant, it's not important only to win the EU project, but how you implement it and report it. And the practice shows that quite significant number of applicants of EU grant programs have challenges in receiving financing when their project is approved. So that's why it's very important they to talk early in advance to commercial banks and reach an agreement that their project is financeable, and then to follow strictly the requirements for implementation of the program in order to receive the grant. So it's nice, but it requires internal efforts and capacity to manage the grants, and here comes also the role of consultants, advisors who support the companies. While with the financial instruments, it operates a bit different. So financial instruments are bank financing in practice. So the companies goes to a commercial banks, as the one where I work, for example. We are the leader on the market in this. And you just ask, or the bank asks you what you want to do, what are your investment plans, and they support you in getting the best possible financing for your project. But you don't need to prepare the complicated application procedure for a EU project. It's a normal bank loan. In practice, you don't feel the burden from this that it's a financial instrument. So for the customers, it means really preferential, quick financing at preferential conditions quickly so they can do their business. And you need to make your own assessment. Shall I go through the more cumbersome, more challenging procedure for the grant, or I will do quickly business and don't postpone the incomes of my investments? And probably for the very small projects, if they are business project for 10, 50,000 euro, it might be a question mark if it's worth to do the grant. But of course, if it's a 10 million project and you can get 8 million grant, then it might be better. And there is another aspect. It is what you feel is better, grant or financial instrument. But on the other hand, the real question, and is becoming more and more important, are there enough money for grants? Is there sufficient budget in EU to continue supporting the EU policies as up to now with grants, or we need alternatives like the financial instruments? And the answer is quite simple. That's why I started with these policy changes with Brexit and so on. Simply, there is not enough budget to continue with the grants in the future. So more and more financial instruments will be on the table. They are, and they will continue to be crucial for the economy. And if we go to the topic for greening and innovation of the economy, as you mentioned at the beginning, Nikolai, about 30% of the whole EU budget will be channeled towards sustainable finance. And substantial part of this money will be channeled to the economy through financial instruments, so preferential funding to companies. This is becoming more and more important.
You mentioned projects oriented towards sustainability and innovation that are top on the priority list of the European Commission, that are contributing to the implementation of its policies. Now, talking about the financial instruments, what is the added value of the financial instruments towards achieving the goals of such projects, towards the better, more efficient implementation of such initiatives?
The financial instruments, on one hand, help commercial banks to provide preferential funding to the business or private individuals with a clear priority on sustainability, digitalization, innovation, meaning that in more simple words, you can get preferential interest rate, less collateral for your investment using these programs. on the level of EU, more financial instruments have also another impact, because with the grant, you have a one-way investment. You provide the present, your 8 million for your cleaning factory, for your cleaning installation for the factory, while if you use a preferential loan with 80% risk coverage, this would mean that when you repay your loan, as is happening in the most cases, the capital used for this credit guarantee will be freed and might be reused again. So the financial instruments are reusable. Big difference with the grants. The second thing, the financial instruments are more effective as an impact, because with €1 you can achieve higher leverage effect. With the grants, you have €1 invested. It's €1, it's great, but it's €1. While because of some financial specifics, with €1 invested through financial instruments, you can make 10, €20 investment. So it's more effective as a final result.
Thank you for this explanation of the benefits in the usage of financial instruments. In your lecture, you mentioned that money is limited at the level of EU. It's a big money, but still it has some limitations. So in the near future, you said that the role of the financial instruments will increase. They will play more significant parts in the implementation of the European policies. Could you briefly summarize the expected future of the financial instruments in the Union?
I always like talking about the future, Nikolai, but to make it, I want to start with 15 years ago and then I'll continue with the future. Bulgaria was a kind of pilot animal in the European Union for testing of these financial instruments. So there was a program called Jeremy on the market, started quite long time ago, 12, 13 years ago. And this was one of the first programs of these financial instruments. And it was offering 80% risk coverage for your investments, let's say, or type of investments like yours. And I remember when we signed the first agreement with the European Investment Fund for this program, that I was very much excited. So internally with the management board, we invested a lot of efforts to win this tender. And then I organized an event for all the colleagues to promote them this program and also to clients. But everybody was saying, but what is this? Why we need this? The future is in the grants. So it took more than a year in order the clients, a year meetings, seminars around the country internal, when the clients started entering the banks. There were few banks who were implementing this program, and they were asking not for a loan, but they were asking for a Jeremy loan. So it was a real market change. It was a game changer. It became a name for really successful, very attractive product. So Jeremy started flying. Then a little by little came the so-called Juncker plan. And we were again the first who signed with this Juncker plan, the COSME program. And I remember, and also Innofin program, and I remember a big meeting in a big hotel in Sofia, where we have gathered probably 300 customers, top customers, to tell them about the new program. And they were not very much excited, frankly speaking. They said, but what is this? And I was wondering, but what's wrong with you guys? It's COSME, it's very good. It's this in these conditions, you get preferential funding. And then suddenly a lady from the first row stand up and said, but I want Jeremy. I like my Jeremy. First, want Jeremy, but this is the sister of Jeremy. Okay. This is the sister of Jeremy. So it was a kind of joke, but a little by little, we did more than 1 billion investments with this COSME program, the new. And there are many different programs like this. So little by little, Bulgaria was not only a pilot country for these programs, but this led to building capacity of the financial sector using these programs effectively, but also of the whole economy, the business, the companies to use this. And it's a good coincidence that it's happening in the period when EU says, but we want to shift from grants, the capital to be used more for financial instruments. And what is the future? The future is, the grants will remain. There are areas, and this is my personal opinion now, that there are areas where grants are obviously needed and they should not be replaced with financial instruments. These are really for vulnerable groups or social aspects, but there are areas where financial instruments have a huge impact and a great added value to the economy. And they will be even more important for the green transition of the economy, for the digitalization, for innovation of the economy. And if we go back to your factory, I'm sure that it's a very good business. You're a green person, what I can see also from your shirt. But the question I would ask myself is, if I was at your place, can I be successful with my factory if I don't use European programs and financial instruments while my competitors does? That's it.
So it gives a competitive advantage.
It's a personal answer, but I believe based on our experience, we have more than 20,000 supported projects with financial instruments, or even more, for enormous volumes. So this is crucial for the successful development of the economy, both as companies, but there are also many programs for greening of private individuals and so on.
One of the messages that I got from your presentation is that when we think about business, we can have in mind the financial instruments. When we talk about the social sphere, protection of vulnerable groups, probably education, etc., then the grants still remain a must in the implementation of certain policies. At the end of this lecture, I would like to ask you an advice for our listeners who are curious to learn more on the topic. Where could they read and what could they watch online or in any other places that information is available? What would you recommend them?
There are very good websites of the European Commission, like Access to Finance, or the websites of big supranational and national financial institutions, also the commercial banks. And I will provide you with a list of appropriate links. But when talking about financial instruments, the lessons learned I have personally is that it's not so much the role of the companies to understand all this huge number of credit guarantees, risk sharing, and other instruments, but it's the role of commercial banks to support the customers in using this. Because the customers are interested in something more simple. They want to get financing quickly at preferential conditions for green, innovative business, and it's the role of the bank to do the rest. And this is one of the key success factors to make it fly.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience with the listeners and the audience of Learning Project. Hope we'll meet again in future.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.